What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PickSix podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Friday, July 30th. And as usual, the PickSix podcast sponsored by Bud Light. That's right. Share a Bud Light with us as you're listening. As you can see, John Breech is wearing a Bud Light t-shirt. Ryan Wilson and I have, it's Friday. You're listening on Friday. Crack that Bud Light open early. Drink responsibly, of course, but crack it open early. I got a Bud Light lemonade. I might actually meander over to my fridge and get an actual Bud Light in a second. It's Friday and all, fasted for a couple of days, come back, take the Bud Light. Humble rack fasted.
Yes. I feel like this fasting works, Breech, in the same way that you and I fast between breakfast and lunch and dinner.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as I know, I don't know how Brinson is still alive. Nobody has ever fasted for this long. Are you on the third month, day 367 of this fast? What is happening, Brinson?
Like two separate 2-day fasts.
When's the last time you ate food?
15 minutes ago.
Well, we were doing this on Thursday. I had lunch today. I went from Monday at midnight to Thursday at noon.
That just doesn't seem healthy. I keep telling you that, but you're a doctor. You probably know better than I do.
I mean, it's probably healthier than what I'd normally be doing.
That's a good point. Fair enough.
Which is eating ho-hos and Twinkies?
I mean, drinking. You know what? Let's move on. By the way, share Bud Light with us while you listen. Go to budlight.com/delivery to order your Bud Light so you can share a Bud Light with us as the season goes along. Budlight.com/delivery. Tons of options, whether it's a Harris Teeter or a Wawa, Walmart, whatever it is. Amazon, you can get your Bud Light sent to your house. On this episode, training camp news and notes. There's a ton to catch up on. We referenced it yesterday with Cody Benjamin. Cody Benjamin get a lot of heat on this podcast. There's buzz about him replacing Breech on the newsletter and the podcast. Just throwing it out there. And in the feed, lots of Aaron Rodgers talk. So we'll probably have less Aaron Rodgers talk today than we have been the last couple of days. I'm sure we'll get into it a touch.
Wouldn't it be funny if Cody replaced me, but then they were like, oh yeah, Brinson, we're doing that because we're actually kicking you off the podcast and Breech is going to host it. And really it was Brinson that got butted out.
Sounds great.
That would be hilarious.
Sounds incredible.
Oh boy. By the way, I don't feel like this has been Aaron Rodgers overkill though. Like when Brett Favre was flying all over the place, like the Minnesota or the Jets or wherever, they were chasing his plane on FlightAware. I feel like this has been less of that. Aaron Rodgers shows up in the flip-flops and the glasses and the man bun. We sort of make fun of that. He gives us a little press conference, sort of finger wagging at the front office. But I didn't feel like the whole offseason was about Aaron Rodgers.
And also the one thing with Favre is that he was a free agent that year. So everybody's wondering where he was going to sign. And with this, it was the Packers saying, yeah, we're not trading Rodgers. So like the only drama was coming from whatever leaks were coming from the Rodgers side saying he doesn't want to play.
Now, Rodgers actually mentioned that. He was like, there's not going to be much Aaron Rodgers talk. Here's a pile of But Aaron Rodgers said this in his press conference. He said, I don't know where those leaks came from. They didn't come from me. And I thought he did a fairly good job this offseason of not making it all about him. Now, he was naturally in the spotlight for multiple reasons, whether it was hosting Jeopardy, doing that thing with the match with Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, and Tom Brady. And yet I didn't feel like he was thrusting his agenda on us or that this is the only thing we could talk about. I felt like the podcast, I told Cody this, I felt like the podcast did a good job not being an Aaron Rodgers update podcast because that would have gotten stale. Offseason went along fairly quickly. And then, like you said, the resolution was fast. Rodgers showed up and blitzkrieged everybody and punched him in the face. And then even Brian Gutekunst on Wednesday or Thursday was asked about the Randall Cobb trade. It's like, is that to make Aaron Rodgers happy? Yeah, pretty much. We think Randall's got a lot left in the tank, of course. But yes, that was something Aaron really, really wanted. And so we did it. Anywho.
By the way, the Packers just signed Jermichael Friendly as well. 10-year deal.
I thought you were being serious for a second.
I know, so did I.
Coming up, we'll have a mailbag on Monday, a rousing conversation where we actually rank our top 3 favorite I know we do a Bud Light draft, Bud Light product draft. So make sure and check that out.
Also come there.
And that was a listener question.
Yes.
So the listeners love us and they love beer.
Hear Debo defend Carson Wentz.
Oh, in humiliating fashion. And as we should point out, the final days If you want me to get a tattoo, we talk about Wilson's tattoo. We have a tattoo update coming on Monday. Speaking of tattoos, if you want me to get a tattoo, it is the final days to push us through into the finals of the sports category for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. You guys are PickSix podcast listeners are as loyal as they come. When we say we really need you to do something, you guys do it, and we need you to do this for us. Go to podcastawards.com/app/sign up, one word. You have to sign up really quickly. It takes like 5 seconds. Put Will Brinson or Ryan Wilson or John Breech under podcast influencer, preferably Will Brinson, and then go down to the sports category, drop down, select PickSix, submit. That's really all you have to do. You can look at the other categories if you want. I don't care. Screw those other categories, particularly fantasy football today. All things covered. Forget them. We are selfish, and we want y'all to help us. So go do that. We got the link at the top of the episode so you can do it from your phone. Voting ends tomorrow, Saturday. Voting ends. So please go do this now. If we get pushed through the finals and we actually win this freaking award, which is highly unlikely, I will get a tattoo. And I will let y'all fools, not you two fools, the podcast listeners, vote on what we get. I'll get something stupid. I don't care. We win the best. If we win an award for the best podcast, I'll get I'm not going to get out of control here, but I will get a tattoo. So go to podcastawards.com/app/signup. Vote for the PickSix podcast and the People's Choice Podcast Awards.
Okay. Beyond that, I mean, I know you said tattoo, but another podcast in the family is giving a lot away. I think you had something that you said you would add to the mix as well to match all things covered.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, Patrick P. Yeah, that's right. If we win the award, he said this is Pat P. If they win it, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yes, they win it. I will get you a signed Pat P jersey or something like that. I'll get you a signed something.
And a signed Brinson sucks hat.
Instead of me to sign it, so it's worth something.
I think we said
I will buy you 2 tickets to a football game. And you and I.
Here's the thing. All things covered, giving away a signed Pat P jersey. Vikings 2 tickets to 2 home games, 1 primetime. Pre-game sideline access.
I'm not a football
here's what I suggested. Brinson gives away that signed Phil Rivers doll that he's always hugging on back there.
How dare you?
2 tickets to watch Brinson play tennis in those little tight shorts he wears. 3, you can get a pre-match courtside access to Brinson in his old man tennis tournament, and you can be there live. You can be right there. You can see Brinson sweating and getting demolished on serves. And
all right. Here's what
you can drink Bud Light with Brinson.
If we win, I will pay for a round of golf for me and at least one podcast listener
At Augusta?
No.
Okay.
I will probably try and shoehorn us into Myers Park Country Club down in Charlotte, and then we will go to a Panthers game together if we win that award. And I also
wait a second. So that means you're not working Sunday less than you already not work on Sunday? I mean, unbelievable.
My. How did that turn out?
How the turntables have turned.
My. How the turntables. Anyway, in other quarterback
So the winner is going to either have to be in Charlotte or Raleigh or Brinson. There's a whole layer of stuff here that you're not thinking about, Brinson.
These covers got to go to Minnesota
and spend up to 7 hours with Brinson. How's that a victory again?
It's an L. You got to take your L. If we win, if we get the W, you take the L.
All right, there you go.
Trey Lance and Zach Wilson have officially signed their deals. Zach Wilson, the final first-round pick to sign his deal, coming through on Thursday afternoon. I believe that the way it worked was he got more guaranteed money, but lost offset language.
All right.
So the hang up was number one, the signing bonus. The Jets generally pay their signing bonuses out over the course of the first year.
Jets had problems signing Sam Darnold. So
right. Yeah. So the Jets usually want to pay their signing bonus out over the course of the first year. Right. And Zach Wilson said, I want my signing bonus because I'm going to sign this contract, all of it right now. And his signing bonus is $22.9 million. So it is a ton of money. He got the full signing bonus, and the Jets got their offset language.
Okay. That's what, if you see a holdout in 2021 or in the new CBA.
Post CBA, yeah.
It's all about offset language and signing bonus. And when
offset language means basically you can't double dip once you get cut or whatever, if you happen to get cut.
So let's say Zach Wilson sucks for the Jets and they bail on him early and they release him. and then he signs with the Bengals because the Bengals still don't have a quarterback. Oh! And Zach Wilson, because your 4-year rookie deal is fully guaranteed, right? And when you're drafted in the first round, your 4-year deal is fully guaranteed, or all rookie deals are fully guaranteed. In theory, if he had the offset language, if Zach Wilson, if it favored him, he would be able to make whatever he was making from the Jets and what he's making from the Bengals. Because typically speaking, in the offset language, whatever you're making on the new job is taken out of what you were making from the old job. So that way 2 teams aren't paying you. I, for one, think the union should just make it work where, look, you draft a player who sucks and you cut him before 4 years. Tough. Like, you're paying him. Like, you've got to pay him that full amount of money. That's not, you know what I mean? So I sort of don't like that the teams push back on this, but I'm not surprised that they do.
Correct.
Zach Wilson to me is much bigger than Trey Lance. Trey Lance still huge, and I believe Trey Lance got his full signing bonus up front. He needed to, he need Trey Lance in there because as we saw with Jimmy Garoppolo, when he got traded to the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan wants his quarterbacks to have ample time to learn the system, to learn the playbook, to become acclimated to what they're going to be working with, the personnel, the different style of it before he puts them on the field. And in the event that Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt early in the season, they will have to turn to Trey Lance. So you will want Trey Lance to get as many reps as he can. However, Zach Wilson is going to start week 1 no matter what. So it was really important for him to get in there and to learn the system, maybe even more so because it's a Kyle Shanahan system from Mike McDaniel. But it's a guy who's never been an offensive coordinator before, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's key. You're trying to get on the same page as this guy who's doing a job for the first time as well. You're moving from Provo to New York City. Pretty important to get the deal done. And I would guess that Zach Wilson was like, man, look, agent guy, get this deal done. I got to get in there.
And the other part is, ever since the new collective bargaining agreement in 2011, getting a deal done with a rookie is easy. That's why we don't see holdouts anymore. You almost never see a rookie miss training camp. A team has to be, especially a team that has been bad for so long. I think the Jets currently have the longest drought without a playoff appearance in the NFL. And you have a new coach. Your team hasn't been good. You just spent this high pick on a quarterback. Just get him in there. This should not have taken any time. They should have got this done last week. I can't even believe that he missed any practices, but he did. And, now he's got to get in there quick, start running the system. Like you said, Brinson, offense coordinator, is actually Mike LaFleur, who was the brother.
Why did I say Mike McDaniel's now the 49ers offensive coordinator? I'm sorry. I messed that up.
Yeah. And so Mike LaFleur is the Jets offense coordinator, Matt LaFleur's brother. So that is a little interesting twist there, but it's not crazy to think that those offenses, the 2 offenses there, will look somewhat similar between Green Bay and New York, but obviously, you'd rather have Aaron Rodgers running it over Zach Wilson. But either way, you want Mike LaFleur teaching that offense as quickly as possible to Zach Wilson. And so the fact there's any delay here is just ridiculous.
I would agree with that. Moving along to more training camp takes. Let's talk about level of concern here. Well, scale of 1 to 10. Wilson, how worried are you about Dak Prescott leaving practice with a shoulder strain earlier this week?
Well, in a vacuum, that would be a 10 in terms of very, very, very concerned because without looking, can you guys name how many of the backup quarterbacks can you name with the Cowboys roster?
Not Andy Dalton. I would say DiNucci and
DiNucci started a game last year.
Who's the other one?
He started the other games.
God, he threw a pass. He completed a touchdown pass to CeeDee Lamb in training camp. Is DiNucci the JMU guy?
Yeah, DiNucci's James Madison.
Ben DiNucci.
Cooper Rush?
Cooper Rush is still there, and then Garrett Gilbert started the game.
Garrett Gilbert.
But anyway, I would be very concerned knowing that those are the backups. But our buddy Patrick Walker, who covers the Cowboys for us, said that the Cowboys don't appear to be concerned. But I'll just say what I've always said in the last 14 months. My biggest concern with Dallas is 2 words: Mike McCarthy. Like, I don't trust Mike McCarthy to be different than what he was
for sure
when he got run out of town in Green Bay. So knowing what we know about Dak Prescott, my concern is probably a 3. But my concern with Mike McCarthy is a 9.3.
I would say a 5. Because look, you're coming off this ankle injury, and by all accounts, the ankle looks good. But when you have like a shoulder strain, up here, you're throwing the ball. It's on the right side of his shoulder, so you're throwing. And apparently Mike McCarthy said Thursday that Dak is not going to throw the ball for 2 to 3 days, for a few days, so this thing can heal. But that's something that, if you don't let it heal, you could aggravate it. So he doesn't throw for 3 days. What if he gets out there and starts throwing again and then it flares up? That's not something you want to be dealing with going into the season. So it's something Cowboys just need to make sure they take care of. If Dak needs to take a week off from throwing the ball or whatever to make sure that thing's fully healed, that's what you do. I don't know that I'd be rushing him back out there. So I would be just mildly concerned.
I'm not that concerned. I think what happened is Mike McCarthy peed his pants a little when Dak got hurt and realized that if Dak doesn't make it through this season, there's some laser beams, some Johnny Walker Blue-filled laser beams flying out of Jerry Jones's eyes straight into Mike McCarthy's face and like sending him to Mars, because he's not getting fired. He might get taken out like Texas execution style or something like that. I mean, if he hurts Dak and this team wins 4 games or 5 games, how many games they win? 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, whatever it is. If Dak gets hurt and he doesn't even have the rotting corpse of Andy Dalton to fall back on, it's going to be a big time problem for Mike McCarthy. So I think Mike McCarthy was like, Dak, you okay? Shoulder, pull him out immediately and be patient with it, because Dak's had enough time to learn the system with all last year and all that. So I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm sort of with you, Wilson. I'm a 3.7 on Dak, just because he had an injury and shoulder strain is concerning, and then like a 9.4 on McCarthy.
That's high.
What has Mike McCarthy done recently to lead us to believe he's a good football coach?
He won a Super Bowl, Brinson.
Recently.
I'm just kidding. I'm not defending Mike McCarthy.
He won his Super Bowl the first year I started working at CBS.
1994?
I've been here a long.
I'm just kidding.
I've been here so long. So
I had muted myself. I was going to say, think about it this way. Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl, and in that time, he got fired, and Brinson has somehow managed to keep his job the same span.
Thank you, Wilson. I don't know if that's a dunk. I think I agree. So
it's a backhanded compliment.
It's actually a compliment to me.
Exactly.
Scale of 1 to 10, Breech. How worried are you about Lamar Jackson missing Ravens practice with a second COVID-19 related absence?
I am like a 6, because look, the thought with the NFL here and kind of the wordings of these reports is that this is a unique situation. So the league's a little concerned because there's some science that, if you got COVID a first time, I guess that's supposed to lower your chances of getting it a second time. Lamar still got it. Now he has to miss almost a week of training camp. And guess what? This is a team that's trying to throw the ball more. I mean, the Ravens banned reporters from sharing video on Twitter of Lamar Jackson throwing the ball because, he struggled throwing the ball. And so now, if you're the Ravens, you want your quarterback in there, you want him working with his new receivers, you want to be able to implement this passing element to your offense. And now you can't do that because Lamar Jackson can't be there. And I know that Jason Lockenfora kind of alluded to the fact that, we don't know if Lamar Jackson has been vaccinated, which, no matter how you feel about it, if you've come down with COVID twice and you're the starting quarterback for an NFL team, you probably should get vaccinated, because these protocols are going to affect. We saw how strict the NFL is being with people who are not vaccinated. And so all of a sudden the NFL could say, hey, Lamar's a test case here. He's got it twice. We really have to keep our eye on him. So this is not a great situation for the Ravens.
So he had it once. Like, we don't know whether he's been vaccinated or not, but if he hasn't been vaccinated, that means he's going to be away for 10 days, because that's the current protocols, which is huge if you're starting quarterback looking to make $40 million a year. Number one. Number two, he had it previously in the fall, and he said it knocked him on his ass, basically. He said it was tough to handle, and this is one of the best conditioned people on planet Earth. So if he chose not to get it in the interim, I'm sure he has his reasons, but it seems like to me, if you're in a situation where you can make life-changing money, not only for you, but for everyone in your family, if you get a couple shots, and by the way, do your job, that maybe he'll do it. But I don't know whether he has the vaccine or not. But it seems like if he doesn't have it, we'll find out because he'll be sidelined for a week and a half.
Now, certainly, whether or not he had the vaccine, he could have gotten the Delta variant in a breakthrough case. That's entirely possible. And what I'm trying to say is that.
But here's the thing: if that's the case and he's been vaccinated, he doesn't have to wait 10 days. He can come back sooner.
Right. He just has to have 2 tests 24 hours apart that are both negative. And that's what I'm saying with, if you're the starting quarterback for an NFL team who's had COVID twice, that the rules favor you being vaccinated. Would you rather be out 1 day or 10 days when you're trying to do this new offense? And that's the part that if I'm Lamar Jackson and I'm saying, man, I've had this twice now, I need to do whatever helps me the most in the rule book, in the NFL rule book.
Look, this is, I'm sure there'll be somebody who leaves a 0-star review and unsubscribes. Pushing the vax on us. That's not what we're doing. We're simply saying that from a competitive balance standpoint, if you are Lamar Jackson, and as Wilson points out, you were trying to secure a big contract, there is a pretty decent chance there's going to be another variant at some point in the next 6 months, because this is how these things work. If there's another variant and it pops up and it's contagious, it's going around, and you don't have the vaccine, as you guys point out, if you test positive, you're out for 10 days. That is under the NFL rules. Because if an unvaccinated player creates a breakout in a team, you could lose multiple games. You could literally lose them. If you can't make them up, they could cost you in the standings. It could cost you a playoff spot. If I were Lamar Jackson, this is not a political statement. This is not a medical statement. This is simply I want to win some football games and get paid hundreds of millions of dollars without sweating it. I'm getting the jab. Jab me twice and let's get on with it, because 2 negative tests and you're back on the field. You won't miss games and you can't cause your team. And we don't know if he's vaccinated or not. But if he's not, then I'm at a 7 out of 10. If he is, I'm at like a 2.5 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10, just because, there was a thing with the Ravens before and there's been a thing with the Ravens now. So.
And real quick on that, just again, not to make it political, I think Ryan Tannehill is a very good example of what's going on. He is a starting quarterback in the NFL. He has realized that the NFL has stacked the deck in a way that says, hey, if you want to play in the league, you need to be vaccinated. And his quote this week was, I wouldn't have gotten the vaccine without the protocols that the NFL is enforcing on us. I think it's a personal decision for each of us. They're trying to force our hands and ultimately have forced a lot of hands by the protocols. It is what it is. End quote. So basically, Ryan Tannehill saying, I was not planning to get the vaccine. I didn't want to get the vaccine, but I understand the NFL rule book is stacked against people who are unvaccinated. So I've got to get it because I want my team to win and I don't want to hurt the team. That's
I got vaxxed, and when I was sitting there getting my first vax shot, I was reading the fine print as they were waiting to bring the needle out and hit me. And to be perfectly frank, I sort of panicked. It's okay. It's okay not to be there's nothing 100% sure in life, and it's okay not to be completely sure about something you're doing. As Ryan Tannehill has stated, he might not have gone in that direction if he didn't need it for competitive balance. And I think that's what we're trying to get at here, is that if you're a quarterback in the NFL, you are potentially, costing your team a playoff spot. Like that potential is out there.
If this had been the Friday before, a regular season game, you're out 2 games because it's 10 days.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And it's not, you can't test negative a bunch of times and come back. You are out 10 days. That is a big, big problem for a guy like Lamar Jackson, whose the entire offense revolves around him. So that probably went longer on Vax Talk than we thought. You know what? I'll save my Bud Light ice cold take for something. Odell Beckham will avoid the pup list, while Michael Thomas will begin the pup list. What? All right, here's my ice cold take presented by Bud Light. The New Orleans Saints kind of got to start Taysom Hill now, because Michael Thomas is going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. That's right. If you look at this depth chart, it's hot doo-doo, man. They got
to start Taysom Hill as the slot receiver?
No, you start Taysom Hill at quarterback and you run a modified run option type of offense. Your number 1 receivers are Traquan Smith and Adam Troutman. That's not, I mean, maybe Drew Brees can make it work. I don't know that Jameis Winston is definitely going to make that work. I don't want to roll out there with Jameis Winston trying to sling the ball around, forcing things.
They have Chris Hogan, by the way.
Oh, you're right. They did sign lacrosse player Chris Hogan, so that should fix it.
By the way, my neighbor is a former Syracuse All-American lacrosse player, and he's an assistant with the Syracuse team now. And he's like, Chris Hogan's not that. He's not good. He's just as a lacrosse player. I was like, he's probably awesome in lacrosse. Because no, he's not. He played in professional lacrosse. Like, and there's a reason that he was traded in professional lacrosse, which I didn't even know was a thing. But the point is, he's back on the NFL radar. And
Wilson, you could host our lacrosse podcast.
I know, right?
And Breech points out in chat correctly, and Breech would have said it on the podcast, but Thomas is on the preseason pup, but he just had surgery. I think it was
Sean Payton sounded that he wasn't happy that he waited this long.
Right, so he could very well end up. You were giving your take. I didn't want to interrupt it, but yeah, so he could end up on regular season pup. If that happens, he's absolutely out 6 games. But right now, they can activate him in training camp anytime.
I think it's almost a lock that Michael Thomas misses a couple of games to start the season. And if Michael Thomas is out, that is my ice cold take presented by Bud Light, that the Saints should actually start Taysom Hill. And you roll Taysom Hill out there and you run this modified, like a poor man's version of whatever the Ravens are running, and you let Sean Payton scheme it up, and you try to win with the run game, and you try to win with defense, and you murder the hearts and souls of everyone who drafted Alvin Kamara in fantasy, because he will be worthless if Taysom Hill is out there as he was last year. So the Saints, without Michael Thomas, need to start Taysom Hill. That's my ice cold take presented by Bud Light, and it feels frosty.
Are the Saints in trouble?
No.
So I mentioned this previously. Let's go look and see what they're at. William Hill, I know it jumped up probably after we told people to bet on it.
Well, let me just, because Wilson just said no so fast. Let me just say that you don't have Michael Thomas likely the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If he goes on PUP list, then you have first 6 weeks without him. Drew Brees retired. Jared Cook left. Deontay Harris just got arrested for a DUI a couple weeks ago. That just came out this week. That could lead to a suspension. All of a sudden, 2 of your 3 best receivers are out. Trey Hendrickson went to the Bengals. There's so many. They lost a lot of pieces, and they didn't add a lot of pieces.
Okay, I'm going to throw a bonus ice cold take presented by Bud Light. How about that?
Do we have a choice?
No, you don't.
All right, go ahead.
Bonus beer take? I want it.
So here it is. There will not be a better, more free bet in the NFL in terms of season-long future bets this year than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 200 to win the NFC South.
That's not a cold take at all. That's on brand. I mean, that's
look,
very mainstream, I feel like.
That line should be minus 400. That is the wrong line. The Buccaneers are returning all of their starters. Tom Brady is finally going to have a full offseason to add to, like, they started cooking at the end of last year. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. This is not okay, we won. Like, who knows if we don't bounce back? They have Tom Brady. He will focus them. He knows how to win back-to-back Super Bowls. That division stinks out loud. The Falcons are bad. The Saints might start Taysom Hill, as I point out. And if they don't, they still Jameis Winston throwing to Traquan Smith and Adam Troutman. And on top of that, you have the Panthers who are rolling out Sam Darnold in a questionable defense. That is the wrong line for the Buccaneers. I believe that the Bills, let me find the AFC East. I think the 2 comparables here. Oh, this is a better one. The Chiefs. Who is more likely to win their division? The Chiefs against the Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders, or the Buccaneers against the Saints, Falcons, and Panthers?
Chiefs.
Probably the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are minus 320. That's what the Buccaneers should be.
Yeah. Not going to argue for me.
So go bet that now, people. Bet it now, before the preseason, before the regular season, before it moves way up. Go get that cheddar. That's the ice will take presented by Bud Light. Speaking of Bud Light, summer's here. That means only one thing. It's time to stock the coolers and start counting down the days until we can enjoy an ice cold Bud Light in a stadium, an NFL stadium. That's right. You can watch Tom Brady shellac your team while someone screams, Bud Light! Get your ice cold Bud Light! Mm-hmm. Only 40 days remaining. 40 days remaining.
Brinson, you ever thought about being a beer vendor? Should be a beer vendor.
I should quit my job and be a beer vendor until we can hear a beer vendor scream at that noise at us trying to tell us to buy Bud Light. And you can help take summer by the coolers and get ready to tailgate. Bud Light is giving away coolers every day all summer long. by my count, 40 days left to go get a cooler or to go win a cooler, to be eligible to get a cooler, to have a chance to get a cooler. Go to BudLightLegends.com. Go there. You win the cooler, and you can take that dusty old ice box that you've got in the back of your garage and throw it away, tailgating style. And again, all you have to do, go to Bud. Look at that over Ryan Wilson's right shoulder if you're watching on YouTube. It's bear proof. It holds ice for 9 days. BudLightLegends.com. Go get yourself go score yourself a chance to win a free cooler. All right, let's rip through some other news here as well. Chandler Jones has requested a trade.
Well, based on what Patrick Peterson said about Steve Keim, maybe Chandler Jones is looking for a similar way out.
Yeah, and speaking of Patrick Peterson, wasn't old Pat Pete trying to get Chandler to the Vikings?
Yeah.
And when you think about landing spots, you get him up there. I think there's a lot of places that would love to have Chandler Jones. And I think if you're the Cardinals, though, you probably don't want him in the NFC. If you're going to give up on this guy who has been really, really good the past few years, he was injured last year, so maybe that's the Cardinals' hesitation in giving him a long-term deal. But I think one of the obvious ones is the Bills. I know they spent a couple picks on pass rushers this year, but if you want somebody proven right now while you feel like you're in the Super Bowl window, then I think you can make a deal for him. And Lamar Jackson on Twitter was saying, I know somebody tweeted out that the Ravens should go after it. Lamar Jackson gave it the googly eyes, like, yeah, I'd be all for that. So the Ravens,
Steelers.
I mean,
do it, but
who doesn't need a pass rusher of that caliber?
Or the place that he came from, New England.
Yeah, New England. The Colts lost Justin Houston and Danico Autry, so they could use some help in the pass rushing department. So I think there are quite a few teams. Imagine the Chargers with Joey Bosa and Chandler Jones.
That's saucy.
It's a good landing spot. I just think that the Cardinals will find a way to make Chandler Jones happy because J.J. Watt is already nicked up. Is he going on the pup or is he just going on?
I don't know.
He might be on the pup. It happened on Thursday. Yes, he's on the pup list with a sore hamstring. You take away J.J. Watt and you trade Chandler Jones. All of a sudden, that Cardinals defense is not that appealing in terms of being good this year.
Front four, yeah. The defense has some questions.
Yeah, so I just think maybe you need to make Chandler Jones happy and figure out a way to get him some cash in his pocket. You don't have to give him a full deal.
Like Patrick Peterson said on All Things Covered, he said Steve Keim wasn't even straight up with him with how things were going to unfold, and that's why he was not happy when he left Arizona. And he will be holding a grudge when those teams meet each other. I think early in the season, if I recall. So maybe Chandler feels similarly.
Week 2.
Week 2, that is early. And I think B-Mac actually said to Patrick, what'd he say? You're going to be looking out for him? He said, Steve needs to be looking out for me. So,
yeah, I mean, Pat's whole point was that once you get to that final year left on the deal and they're not communicating with you, that's the writing on the wall. And it's not just Pat, it's Tyrann Mathieu had a bad ending there, Calais Campbell. There's a history, there's a trend of star defensive players not having good finishes out in Arizona.
Well, listen,
you start calling, you're like, hey, can I get some money? And you don't return your calls, then that is a
they send it straight to voicemail. It doesn't even ring.
Right.
I think the Kyler Murray thing bought Steve Keim some time as well because
Steve Keim his job was probably
so he's not.
And then trade Josh Rosen for Kyler Murray, bring in Cliff Kingsbury. I do think, I mean, are you really going to move? Are you really going to move on from Keim and Kingsbury as you're trying to figure out Kyler Murray? I don't.
Right.
What if the Cardinals regress? Like, what if they go 6-11 or 7-9 or 7-10?
Yeah, conversations will be had.
Kingsbury, I think, has to be a little bit on the hot seat. And then, do you give Steve Keim the power to hire a new coach, or what happens? You're going to say, I loved it. Breech is saying Kingsbury's on the hot seat when Zach Taylor still has a job and has won 3 games in his entire life and has never been that good of a coach. And how is he not on the hot seat? Zach Taylor is on the hot seat. If Zach Taylor does not win at least 6 games, that he should be let go.
6. That's the bar.
That's 2 more than last year, Ryan.
All right, what's next?
Jonathan Allen got a $72 million extension from the Washington football team. I don't know if this was necessarily breaking news when it happened. I'm sure it was treated that way in certain portions of the internet. Who's to say? But yeah, exciting. Interior defensive lineman gets a big contract that he deserves because he's a good player. And the takeaway from this for me is one, I don't like to do this, but give Bruce Allen some credit for not screwing up a draft pick. He did a great job going after Jonathan Allen. And then 2, how good can Washington's defense be? And does, locking up a guy like Allen make you feel like this is a team that's kind of building for the long haul and maybe even for 2021, Wilson?
Yeah. I mean, the front 4 is all first-round picks. Starts with Josh Allen, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, his teammate from Alabama, Montez Sweat, of course, then Chase Young last year, of course. And they were a huge reason why that team was so good down the stretch, because you didn't have to lean on an offense, which at times was non-existent. So I think that's a huge part of what they're going to be doing going forward. We talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. He can now, and I said this when I was on HQ, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick can throw 2 or 3 interceptions and not have to worry about the pressure of making a mistake because that defense will bail him out. They could have 7 first-rounders starting on this defense. I mentioned the 4 guys up front. Jamin Davis, a first-round pick. William Jackson, the 3rd, former first-round pick who played, of course, for Breech's Bengals. Landon Collins is still on the roster, the former first-round pick, Alabama. So there are a lot of good players there. We talk mostly about the front 4, but they have some guys in the back end that are good as well. And I think in terms of the defensive line, this is the best defensive line in football.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them give the Buccaneers trouble in that playoff game. We laughed because Washington went 7-9 and won the division going under 500. But, this was a team that the score was 18-16 in the 4th quarter of a playoff game where they're playing the eventual Super Bowl champion. And it was because the way their defense was playing. The defense was playing so well that, like Ryan said, it doesn't matter what Ryan Fitzpatrick does because the defense is so good that Washington can compete with anyone, and it's going to be hard to blow them out. So, man, I like the signing. I like that they're trying to keep their defense together. I think Washington's going to be tough. Might pick them to go to the Super Bowl, guys.
By the way, Landon Collins,
nobody believes that.
Landon Collins, second-round pick, 33rd overall. I was wrong about that.
Brinson, will you shave your head if I pick them to go to the Super Bowl?
Brinson, will you shave your head if I pick the Lions to win the Super Bowl? Because I'll do it.
No, absolutely not.
All right.
Whatever.
All right, one last thing, and then we can get out of here. What are your thoughts on Dan Campbell doing burpees with the team?
That's the most obvious outcome of this preseason I can possibly think of.
Well, some of the comments were, look how old he is. Like, yeah, he's 45 doing burpees with a bunch of 22-year-olds. He's actually doing pretty good.
That dude is jacked, bro.
And then, of course, the other comments were, do you think Matt Patricia ever did that? And people were like, no, he's just riding around on the 4-wheeler, wearing his extra large shirts and yelling at people.
What's a burpee?
Yeah,
I'll do some beer and burp. What's a burpee?
That's what I do to the baby when she's got gas.
I give Dan Campbell credit for trying to be part of the team. At the end of the day, I don't know what this means, but I like the idea that he's different. I want to see what happens with the kneecaps and the yelling and screaming, and whether that translates over the course of the season. That's going to be admittedly tough for this Detroit team.
All right. Anything else? Braden Smith, by the way, of the Indianapolis Colts, signed an extension that should help out Carson Wentz, but not really. He was going to be there anyway. Worth pointing out, the first 3 picks for Chris Ballard ever that he made with Indianapolis, in the first 3 picks in the 2018 draft, Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, and Braden Smith. That's a pretty good start.
That's a grand slam.
Also added, and funnily enough, so Braden Smith signed his extension before Zach Wilson signed his contract. The Braden Smith and Darius Leonard picks, I believe, were part of the Sam Darnold deal that the Colts got second-round picks from the Jets in order for the Jets to move up to number 2 and take Darnold. And Darnold not on the roster anymore. Braden Smith getting an extension. Quentin Nelson looking like a Hall of Fame caliber All-Pro year in and year out. And Darius Leonard, I think, a legitimate candidate for Defensive Player of the Year this year. So, yeah. maybe don't listen to the Jets. Listen to the Colts.
And you know what? Carson Wentz got murdered behind that Eagles offensive line last year. This Colts offensive line should be good. I mean, obviously a little bit of a question mark at left tackle and how good Eric Fisher can be, but for the 5 spots, they have top tier linemen. And if Eric Fisher just plays average or slightly above average, I don't think Carson Wentz is going to get sacked as many times as he did last year.
If that will help things to be less terrible. All right. That's it for the show. Happy weekend, everybody. When we talk to you next, it's going to be August. And that football is right around the corner. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. For Breech and Wilson, I'm Brinson. See you guys later. Have a good weekend.